Oh, good. There you go. Now you have to see the big behind the scenes. Okay. So I think we're continuing with consort, relationship, sex. I forget there's 4 topics in there, but you get the idea. Oh, relationship in general, and relationship principles and theory. I still have questions, and I'm going to keep rolling them. And then if anybody has questions here, I'm more than happy to answer. Everybody whose question I've answered pretty much has been so incredibly gracious in their response about having their question answered. It's so much fun. I mean, I don't know. I've taught for a long time. I started graduate teaching associate at 26 and I'm 57. So 31 years. And I don't know what happened this year, but it turned into fun. It was the unimaginable, where I look forward to coming here. And because it's more like a conversation, and it's more like sharing than, some big idea about what it's supposed to be. And it can be organic, and it doesn't have to have a syllabus. But we still get through all of the stuff in one way or another. So I can start with a question. If you have anything on any of the platforms, I'm happy to answer. And in the meantime, I will start with Danielle Lovelight, a wonderful, wonderful friend, just beautiful questions and conversation, regularly posting. So does being unwelcomed in this context, what is the difference between the consort's job of making it difficult to re-enter and the sacred sexuality model of feminine discernment? Can't both either contain the intensity and connectivity of whatever the woman is deeply feeling without withholding of expression? Perhaps different in the uniqueness of such expressions, but no less true. Okay, great question. Really great question. Because you have to have discernment about discernment. You have to have discernment about making it difficult to enter and discernment itself. And these are really key training points. You have to play in order to make it into arousal, into that platform. You have to play. It's with so much with the mind, and it has to be a theater. It has to be play itself. It has to be a delight. You have to delight in seeing how to tweak this knob. What happens when you do this? And if you have it be that your true north is one and only one thing, and that one thing is flight, meaning that one thing is arousal, no matter what. No matter what, your aim is to remain in that state of arousal. And, the physical manifestations of it, of your buzzing in your thighs, or the swelling of erectile tissues, or the feeling of a swelling in the belly. And then that's your only aim for the rest of your life, is to do that. If that were your only aim, that will take you to all the way, because so much will have to fall away just naturally in order to stay in the state. In the same way, for a balancing pose, so much has to fall away: doubt, irritation, all of these, in order to just stay in that place. And then the winds come and kind of threaten to knock you over, and you're staying in that balancing pose. That's very much how it is, staying in the stream of arousal. There is no way to be rejecting. There is no way to be unclear. There is no way to be greedy and in genuine arousal. So the very things that plague us, the poisons that plague us, have to go. But here's the thing: they have to go for a really incredibly positive incentive. They have to go for the feeling that you want underneath all the shit you're doing, if that makes sense. So there's all this stuff you're not supposed to do. But and when I say that, I don't really care what anybody does, by the way. But there's stuff that you're not supposed to do if you want to be happy. It's just like that. But there's this idea, right? Like, I feel imprisoned because I'm not supposed to do this. Or you feel like somebody just tells you the truth about whether or not that's a smart thing to do. walking out into traffic, whatever. And it's like, no, I'm defiant. I don't like being told what to do. So it turns into a moralistic issue, or more often than not, it turns into anytime you feel you're supposed to do something, it turns into a parent-child issue, even if it's with your own mind. But if you jump into the place of how do I stay in arousal here, then it becomes obvious to release it. Does that make sense? Then it's just like, oh, this feels so good. This feels alive. This feels dead. I'm willing to drop it off in order to stay here. And the more time that you spend in the stream of arousal, the more kind of gravity you pick up inside of arousal, the easier it becomes to be here and to not be lured out by all of the ideas that occur on either side, right? There's those promises. I mean, I just have to say it. I'm going to say it 1,000 times. Why? Because practitioners that I've known for 20 years still are plagued by this. Special will kill you. There is no way to be special and be in arousal. Zero. None. Why? Because it introduces self-consciousness and it introduces grasping. And so you're in the double jeopardy when you're in special. It is the most insidious thing. So like, baby, you're so special. No, you're so special. It's like, and we're both out of the river. And then that's where people just cling to each other on the side of the river in order to get some kind of comfort because they don't have any life in them. They're just like two dying people holding each other, telling each other how special they are. It's like, just shut up and get in the river. Like if you really cared about each other, and this is the piece that I try to get through again and again and again, because special is it's like the masked murderer, you know what I mean? It's like, I think I was listening to this podcast and this guy was saying, oh yeah, we thought, what is it that they sprayed on people and then they later all died? DDT. Yeah, we thought it was going to be the salvation. We thought it was going to be the best thing in the world. And then all of a sudden, all of these people died from it. And then he said, and yeah, okay, maybe a few mosquitoes did die. And that's sort of like being special. It's like being there one. Maybe you do have a few moments that are pleasurable, but in the end, you're killing this person who you're saying is special to you, or you want to be special to you. See, it's just the ultimate lie, because you're saying, I'm taking you away from life force. I'm taking you away from the only thing that could liberate you. I'm taking you away from the only thing that could give you endless gratification. I'm taking you away from full sufficiency. I'm taking you away from knowing who you are from the inside in order to just cuddle with you over here and then take you hostage. And so that's just my big piece on special. I probably will not be able to say it enough, in that especially as arousal goes up, the tendency, especially, we used to have, we had an organization, we would have all these women and they were just coming into their Eros, they were just getting turned on. And then you would see the guy just grasp for them and he would be like the savior. And I'm the only one who understands her. And it's like, no, you're the only one who knows at a moment when she's open and vulnerable, how to grasp at her klesha and keep her there. There's nothing impressive about that. That's just garden variety hostage taking. That's really it. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Because we are talking about what is the different. Oh wait, what did I do? Making it difficult to re-enter. So I'm a consort. As a consort, my task is every single second that I'm with you there, and that I'm not, to be honest, is to either be in full flight and dancing with you. And if we aren't in that place, then we're in full flight and I'm dancing with you because I am demonstrating to you how to be in pitch perfect response. That's what love is. So it is, because really what love is fundamentally between people. It's the desire to liberate and to be together more than anything, right? But you can't be together if you're on this side of your karma. Your karma can be together, but you can't. There can be no actual contact when that happens. So it's you're sitting on the ground with your karmas relating. That's not, I mean, maybe that's interesting for most of the world, so I guess I shouldn't. You can be in the minority and still be right. But what I wanted, I was thinking about with this is, every moment is training, every moment. And this is so antithetical to where women want to be. We just want to be swept away and in a state of abandon. And he's a big dominant, or which is insanity. It's absolutely, it's like cosplay of cosplays. And she's supposed to just be able to, luxuriate in his all-knowing being. And it's like, you guys, come on, let's actually play. So if you actually want to play, then you have a woman second by second by second training the attention of her partner how to elicit the most arousal, the most sensation in any moment. And you're doing it when you're eating. You're saying like, nope, you're eating too fast. You're going over the sensation there. When you're guiding them in the car, every single moment is an opportunity to learn how to stroke the experience that's right there. And that's what she's doing. She's guiding that process. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of guiding it, you may get flight. And then in flight, he may do something clumsy. And so when he does something clumsy, it is your job to immediately, without thinking, kick him out. He's got to go. He has to go. Then he has to find his way back to you or not. Because what you're doing is you're working for the refining. And this can be the reverse too. I don't know about female consorting as much, but I mean, I know about it on my side, but my side was very different. So I'll tell you about it someday. But maybe I did get kicked out, but I come back really fast. I come back. Sometimes you kick people out and you're just like kicking them out in the moment because they had a clumsy behavior or something, or they didn't meet the mark in terms of staying in really high sensation and turn on with you, or you were in a state of turn on and they went to a production thing and just left you abandoned there or something like that, right? And so it may be like that, but you're just like, you're saying like, now's not the time for you to be in here. Go, little one. And then they just keep going. You're like, oh, that didn't work very well. But it did. See, but it did. Because the only thing that can vet for true desire is being true to desire. How do you be true to desire? You follow it in an exaggerated form so that it educates, right? So if you're coming close to me, I pull you a little bit closer than you expected to come, right? And then we see what happens there. Then we see if you say, I'm out here, I have to go take a shower and go jogging or something, right? Or you see if, if you're moving away from me, and then I say, and you say, I'll see you in an hour, and you say, oh, no, not a problem, maybe tomorrow, actually. And if they're like, okay, or if they're like, fuck that, I gotta get back with you. And so you play with those things in order to vet for true desire. That's what so if arousal is what you're aiming for, desire is the fuel and the guide for how to work into that state of arousal, how to move closer or further. And so the idea of discernment still has me in it. I'm discerning whether or not you get to have this pussy, is usually how it, I mean, that's what it boils down to always in the language. that is still me playing for me. So it's by orders of magnitude different from what I'm talking about. I have zero discernment. In fact, I don't know, I'm one of the best players I know. And, you know, I have zero discernment. I don't care what you do if it's driven by true desire, because desire is what I serve. And if it brings genuine arousal, and by the way, I just want you to know that like mass murder doesn't bring genuine arousal in people. So you don't have to figure out the ethics and morality of it. But if it brings genuine arousal in you, I'm down. There's what was his name? He passed, Puff Smoke. He would say, I'm down for whatever. Slut, bitch, I don't care. I'm down for whatever. And that's how I am. It's like, bring it here. Bring it here. If you have like marriage kink, that's cool with me. If you have, like you want to be, the big bear or something, those things don't matter, because that's not what we're playing with. What we're playing with is your relationship to that desire and what is aroused from that. And then that's what arouses me as your consort. All of my turn on is located in what turns you on. That's so then my task and my reward is ensuring that you are as aroused as you. There used to be this prayer, please raise me. Oh, it was some kind of hippie prayer, but please raise me to the highest frequency that I can maintain awareness in. And that's sort of what your task is as a consort, is to bring people to the highest level of arousal that they can maintain awareness in, hold them there, be a place that receives their desire without them feeling obligated to act on it. Half of desire is just saying, I want this. I've had people this week tell me their desires and then blow out on that. By blowout, I mean lose awareness. It's a lot. It's a lot, because you have to go in, you have to dredge, you have to feel, you have to admit, you have to determine safety. You have to determine that you don't care about safety. You have to determine that what's in here and its expression is more important than the illusion of being safe, because you're pretending and holding everything down. See, it's so funny to me. People talk about safety. Well, what do you want safety for? And you keep running it through. Well, you want safety so that you can be who you are, right? And then people try to pretend that there's something that they aren't in order to get safety. It is so reverse. It's so crazy. So yeah, so then I make it very difficult. If somebody was foolish enough if somebody was foolish enough to leave me, and like we just had somebody walk in, and then so I'm making fun of them. So if somebody was foolish enough to take the rare opportunity to be inside, right? That's what I mean. I don't know that there's another place that is more profound than being inside of arousal with another human being, because you can't be in arousal with your karma. It's impossible. So that's the most raw state of intimacy, is just to be in there and to be that kind of naked. And it is, maybe it's sort of like, in AA, people when they first get sober, they kind of take it for granted, because they made it to AA. It wasn't that hard once they got there. So then they go out and drink, because they don't yet realize how precious it is. And then they find that they're out there for several months, and then they crawl back, and that may happen. I know somebody who that happened for 17 times. They just kept going in and out, until they finally landed. And so the same thing happens with arousal, especially because we are not trained to recognize that this is the most precious state in human existence. It's the genius state. It is the state of awareness. And so but you're taught to denigrate it and to demonize it, to see it as, dangerous. And so you have this habit of entering into arousal. You enter finally into heaven. You make it in the gates of heaven, and you're like, let me finish this report. And so if somebody says that to me when they make it into my gates of heaven, I say, go finish it. You have plenty of time. and then you make it difficult, and you make it difficult. And I want to say this, see, because with discernment, you make it difficult for them, for you. With consorting, you make it difficult for them, so that they remember the distinction of being out and being in, and that they have to work their way back in. And then pretty soon they do the math. Sometimes, they start doing the math, like they stay awake and talks, they do everything. And they do the math. And in that math, they say, wait a minute, I noticed I had the state of arousal, and then I did something. They start noticing the things that they do to break arousal. And then they say, and then I lost arousal. And then it was really hard to get back into that place. In fact, I was crawling and begging. I was doing anything I was like going to therapy. I was trying to figure out why everything was wrong, why I was sad, why I was lost, why I was confused, all of those things, right? Because when you are not in arousal, it's just like, please, God, please, I'll do anything, all of the things. And then finally you make it back in, and you realize, wait a minute, I could just stay here. I could just stay here. And so that's what you're doing, is you're abetting, and somebody has an abetting question, you're abetting the process of somebody realizing, oh, I can just stay here. I don't have to leave ever. I could stay here. And then you bump into some things like, oh, do I deserve this? Whatever. That's just know those are the, I think I said this one time, I said to my sponsor, I was concerned about my weight, and she said, oh, that's a good hiding place. And so these ideas, I don't deserve this, those are just hiding places. They're just manufactured by the ego to take you back out where it has dominion over you. It can't touch you. It can't touch you in arousal. That's what's so great about it. You're just like, you're just moving past all of your habits, places you used to get stuck. Like, there's another question about here on jealousy. Jealousy in arousal, that is one of the top 3 experiences. You are like, tell me everybody you've ever thought of fucking since the beginning of time. When you're in arousal. When you're not in arousal, it is not any fun at all. And it is like, do everything in your power to pretend that you have never thought of another human being, and get very sheepish whenever we are outside and do not look up, right? So it's like, you might really want to stay in arousal. But every emotion is like that. There's we did the sutra about with Eros and without Eros. That's really what we're saying, is with turn on and without turn on, with arousal, without arousal. It's a different world. One is you're just like pedaling like the Flintstones car, and the other is you're being carried with the wind at your back, and it's just they're different worlds altogether. So but the hardest part, I would say, the hardest part is recognizing the preciousness of it, of not dismissing it, of knowing, oh, this is a gift that's granted. Oh, I've been blessed with the greatest gift that exists. I mean, if you're hearing this conversation, and you aren't here totally by accident, then I mean, some people on like the YouTube might just be like, what, where did I land? But there's a likelihood that you have greater access to stable arousal than most people. Right? So there's a likelihood, that you're in the real 1%, not the billionaires, the real 1%, who have the wealth to have happiness and share it. I mean, have the philanthropic or the altruistic wealth to share the genuine transmission of joy with people. You have that. I mean, if you're on the Zoom, you have it. So, and here's the thing, but most people don't recognize it, you know? It's like, oh, because it's like, you know how people are with arousal? I think they're like this. They're like, I have $1 billion, but figuring out which bank to put it in and paying my taxes and talking to my money manager, it bugs me. That's how As if I don't know if I want to do that. I'm willing to forego my inheritance because I don't want to deal with the difficulties. And there are difficulties of having arousal. There for sure are. When there's a difficulty of navigating through a dead world as a living person. That's very real. It's not, and how do you not frighten the horses? And then there's, oh my gosh, what do you do when you're moved by arousal and you can sense very real arousals and the faces don't, reflect that when what you see and what you feel are different? How do you navigate it? There's things like that you have to navigate. Knowing things. There are things that you know intuitively, living in the world as a feeling human being, and that people think you're crazy because you know them ahead of the curve, and it's frustrating. These are all things that are very real, but you're giving up your wealth in order to not deal with those things is crazy, I think. Anyway, so yeah, so you keep them out. So but you can taunt them, definitely. I mean, that's what I like to do. I'm a big taunter. I love to taunt, especially, when I can feel the arousal, because people are so conflicted about their arousal. So you become what they're conflicted with rather than themselves, if that makes sense. And then you can begin to play, you can be the taunter rather than their own, stupid ass shame. Like, how boring is that? They feel arousal. It's like, I'm a bad Christian. It's like, no, I'll be your bad Christian. Like that. Okay, so let me see. That's my question. Can either or both contain the intensity and connectivity of whatever the woman is deeply feeling without withholding of expression? You can definitely keep with discernment. No, you can't, because with discernment, I'm saying you deserve to be here. You don't deserve to be here. You deserve to be here. You don't deserve. It's like that's really what it is. It's just, we call it golden pussy syndrome. It is, don't fall for it. It's ridiculous. But keeping somebody out until they're ready to come in, you're still in relationship. This is one of the other parts to remember. Is if somebody's over there trying to get in, or going over there pretending like they aren't trying to get in, or all of the things that happen, we're still in relationship if I'm open to feeling all of that. If I'm open to feeling their struggle, if I'm open to feeling us missing each other, if I'm open to feeling all of those things, it's just a relationship at a different proximity, but it's the same relationship. So you can continue to play in a very aroused way. Like I like when I've kicked someone out, and then I like being very formal with them. But keeping the arousal very high and saying, would you get me those 4 binders by Friday? And then just watching, their discomfort. Yeah, that's love, that's relationship, that's play. That's how you want to keep it. So you don't have to be, bonded at the hip, bonded at the hip, whatever. You don't have to be onto each other in order to be intimate. You can be intimate across the continent. That's irrelevant. All that matters is that you're open to the play and that you keep playing. And that's the hard part is, resentment is the death of the bikini. There are a few things. Wanting to be special is the number one that has her be a fallen bikini. But resentment is a big one. And so people are clumsy. It's just the nature of things. I mean, you're first learning to fly. It's just a very clumsy endeavor. It's just very challenging for anybody who's ever gotten in it. And sometimes you like people. And so you're with them and they are being clumsy and you got to kick them out. You should, because for their own good. It's the nicest thing to do. So you kick them out. Well, you can't say like, see, or you can't cover the moment of like, oh, I'm going to miss you for a little while. I'm going to miss you till you find your way back. You have to just, good. You'll find your way back when it's time, and you keep going. So that's the piece that to keep in mind is one of the challenges that I see, especially for women who are training to be consorts, is moving somebody in, moving somebody out, moving somebody to the side. They do it in such a way that they're uncomfortable with it, so they add resentment or like a bite or a feeling of vengeance or something because somebody was clumsy. It doesn't make any sense. But I can tell you why that happens. They took it personally. They look at it like, oh, you did that stupid thing to me. No, they did that stupid thing and lost their own flight. They already have their karma. You don't need to serve any karma to them. Being out of flight is the punishment. There is no punishment greater than being out of flight. It is the most horrific thing. So then when your friend falls out of flight, the only feeling to feel is compassion. Now the compassion may be, fierce mistress compassion. That may be what works for them to have them get back in flight. Perhaps different in uniqueness as such expressions, but no less true. No, I think we're still talking about feminine discernment and making it difficult to re-enter. No, I think the discernment one is far less true. I think, I think that we talk about Goethe a lot around here. And that's the idea that you can only travel up so far in math, we'll say, in a rational way. And then you just hit this point where you have to have a leaping off point. And it's all risk and you don't know what you're doing, uncertainty. But it's a different world by orders of magnitude. It isn't like apples and oranges even. It's just like apples and purple lagoon people. There's no comparison in worlds. And so all of these things are just rearranging furniture on the Titanic. So the whole, sorry, I know that I say this with some taunting, but I say it to taunt you, to keep you in flight in the, what I perceive to be the far superior state. That's how I perceive it to be. And that is, the whole idea of discernment in sacred sexuality, this is part of what I was writing about, is it's still based in self. If you are doing it, whatever you're doing in the self is a suffering manufacturing machine. The best thing you could possibly do in that self is going to still only manufacture suffering. So the highest, most noble selfing goals are going to manufacture garden variety suffering. So in that way, and this is what I wish, what I wish to transmit on this day, is that it does not, if from self, you are serving the minions, if you are the good Samaritan, if you are feeding people around the world, it doesn't matter in terms of suffering. Now, this matters in terms of the longevity of the suffering, but it doesn't matter if you do that or run somebody over with a car. Suffering is suffering is suffering is suffering. It does not discriminate. Race, color, gender, sexuality, positive behaviors, not positive behaviors, because those are all conceptual. In fact, you may be feeding I'm going to say something very hardcore here. You may be feeding Nazi soldiers. That may be what you perceive, and you may be not running over Hitler. You see what I'm saying? You in order to be good. So you don't know conceptually. You don't know. It's not where you're ever going to figure it out. It will never give you the right equation to get out of suffering because it's a suffering manufacturing machine. You can't plug it in and have it tell you. You have to get to the free zone on the other side of the valence of good and bad. And then you can have true wisdom begin to inform your behaviors. So anyway, the repackaging of things, just adding the word sacred or divine. It doesn't do it.
We got a question.
Oh, great.
From Athena. I notice that when I get back into arousal, it feels so good, and I conflate that with being special. And then I'm out again. Any suggestions of how to work with that mind?
First of all, I just want to say, you made me happy. That makes me so happy to hear. I think your name is Athena, so I'm going to assume you're a woman, but it makes me so happy to hear somebody having that recognition. That is I think most of the world does not understand and is not able to make the distinction, so then is not able to enter and build stability there and live there and suffering. So you have a habit. You have a habit. That's all it is. Special is just a very bad habit, particularly bad. But here's the good news. Special tends to be down in the instinctual karma level. So you're down in the depths if that's what's bringing you out. If it's not just work or something like that, if it's, like that desire to be special, then you're down in the depths karma and you can do some really good work down there. That's first. So what I would suggest is you just put a bookmark there, or a placeholder to notice special whenever it comes up. You aren't going to try to beat it up. That doesn't work. That isn't good for arousal either. And then you just do everything you can to get or stay in arousal, reactivate your arousal. And then you figure out a way to eroticize the desire to be special. But you do it from a state of arousal where it will dissolve that klesha. So in the same way in sitting meditation, what you do is you just notice thinking. You just notice special, like all of the things. Where do you really see the things that you do to be special? It is incredible. The ways people sell their soul in order to be or feel special. The ways people pretend or cosplay is the word I always think of, but the way, all of the things conform, try to figure out what someone wants and then try to become that, or, try to be dominant, whatever those things are in order to be the most or the best. It's because here's the thing that's so crazy. This is the punchline. So you want to be special, right? But if you can see special is a shark. It doesn't have feelings. It's the will to power is really what runs it. So it's a blind energy that wants to be on top. It wants to be the most, it wants to be the best, it wants to be, okay. So then you can kind of run through in your head, okay, so I'm the most special with somebody, but then sooner or later that somebody is not that interesting. You really have to manufacture a lot to keep wanting to be special for somebody. But so then what happens? Now you are very clearly their most special person. Now what? Now you can kind of feel it begins to descend. Okay, so then You get rid of that most special person, or you stay with the most special person and decide you want to be the top of the food chain, something of that nature. Because that's usually what all of this is. Wanting to be special with somebody is usually to stand on their head and get up to the top of the food chain, the imagined one. And it is the best piece of, the ego did the best piece of propaganda with the top of the food chain desire that's inside of us, because what they don't tell you is there's nothing up there. Nothing. There's no gratification. There's nothing. I mean, it's just, in fact, it's draining, because now you're at the top of the food chain and everybody wants something from you. And that's the good news is it's such a bait and switch, because now you're at the top of the food. You finally make it and you realize, Changwa and I joke about this a lot. Wait a minute. This is only ever responsibility. This is nothing but responsibility constantly. We have the idea that you'll make it to the top of the food chain and then you won't have responsibility. It's the exact opposite. That's all it is. And if you don't answer the call of the top of the food chain moment, what happens is you're a fallen bikini. You lose it. And so you have to make this other transition, and that is, now you're hitting the 8th level bodhisattva transition, and that is, my entire life is dedicated to other people. That's if you make that, then you get to stay at that top of the mountain, looking down at all of the people who you're going to have to change their diapers. Like if not, then you get brought down to the bottom and you get your pair of diapers and you start back up again. But I mean, it's sort of like I love Krishnamurti. He would stand at the top of this mountain. People would be coming, over down through the valley and everything, and he would say, "You're free. Go home. Get away." Because that's really the only message: is you're already free. Stop. You're already free. Stop. Have a little sex, then make out some more, then eat some pizza. Like that's, and then try to help a few people. That's really like the way to go. But you can only know that in arousal, and that part of you that wants to take things over, or wants to be seen, or wants people to know how smart you are, or wants people, all of that. You can't, with arousal, that goes away. That's all I can say. So I just keep saying, like, just aim for the arousal, just aim for the arousal. But you don't understand, I have this problem, just aim for the arousal. But I am obsessive, aim for arousal, 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 arousal. It'll knock everything out. It'll do your work for you. And it'll do the work that you couldn't do. Is there more? No. Okay, good. Then I'll do this one. Okay. Can you please talk about jealousy and uncertainty? So I touched it a little bit when I said that in arousal, it's called compersion in arousal. And it is one of the most exquisite feelings that exists, because suddenly in arousal, your body's open. And so you experience all the lines of turn on, we'll say, that's running through your partner and that they've picked up through the day. You're feeling all of those in your own body. And it's like, it's magnified tenfold, the amount of turn on that you have. Like, you can't get enough jealousy, we'll say, in the arousal state. And then I like the uncertainty piece, because that doesn't mean that you don't have to stay in flight and play it well. Does that make sense? Because in flight, you become more sensitive, not less sensitive. And so the idea is to open to the exquisite sensation of other people's energies. But sometimes you know, but is she prettier than me? You know, whatever the jealousy things are arise. And so then what you have to do is turn and eroticize that. You have to figure out how to turn on to the idea that this woman is prettier than you, and that's why her energies are running through your partner, right? So your whole thing, you are just constantly feeling, how do I open to this? It's, it's literally like opening your legs. How do I open to this? How do I open to this? And this is what I can tell you. The cure for all let me see if I want to say that. Yeah, the cure for all anxieties in arousal is to open more, is to find how to open more, how to welcome more inside of that place. And then what you end up with, and you end up with a sanctuary, you end up with a sphere where profound transformation has happened with your consort, we'll say. And so there is nothing like that, no matter how beautiful, how old, how young, how whatever, kinky, how innocent. Those are just threads of karma inside of an entire sanctuary that you've experienced the most raw and pure intimacy in. So you don't have to hold on to anything. It's just there. And then the other piece is archetypes, just archetype, and really opening to the felt sense of another energy being inside of your body or inside of your partner's body, and then seeking for it and feeling for it, or feeling, your friends visiting inside of your partner's body, or these energies work that way. And so having that level of sensitivity and then inviting those energies in makes single dimensional issues infinitely better. If it's just me, Nicole, and I'm working with feelings, it doesn't go well. It doesn't go well at all, because it can't. It can't, because this is so multidimensional inside that you're just constantly trying to fix. You're just fixing, and you're trying to control. And then you're saying, no, I want less pressure. And no, you can talk to her, but you can't hug her. And it's just like managing, because you're just trying. And the reason that you're managing is because you have this big life force inside of you that you're trying to contain. And if it goes too far, it might explode. And so the big arousal, we'll say, the 8th level arousal, is when you just decide to just blow it open. And you don't have to manage it anymore. It's no longer like, oh my God, if they say that, I'll get triggered, and then I'll say something, or I'll want to withdraw, or because you're just open. And so then it's a totally different playing field of where the question really genuinely becomes, how do I turn the arousal up here? How do I do that? And there you go.
What are your thoughts on the economic principle that scarcity creates value?
Well, it doesn't. Scarcity creates hunger. Hunger creates greed. Greed creates confusion. Confusion makes us value what we perceive we can't have. And so it's a con game. It's a terrible, terrible con game that made its way into a lot of pickup books and into a lot of women's lives about believing that they should withhold themselves to be seen as valuable. I can tell you that value creates value. And there's nothing like it. It can't be manufactured. can't be contrived. If you bring value to people's lives, they will value you to the best of their ability. And this is the hard part. That is that most people have a difficult time valuing anything because they don't value themselves. And so you have to not take that personally. But the most wrong-headed principle in terms of human relations is to bring any kind of scarcity. You're just compounding everybody's profound sense of scarcity and insufficiency. And so it's like saying, you're starving, so I'm going to starve you more so that you'll want food. No, I'm just going to feed you. And then you may not have the capacity to appreciate it because most people have a very low appreciation quotient. But that doesn't matter. My joy comes from my ability to pour. So that's how I feel about that.
Isha Ithera from YouTube asked, how do you handle sensing a lover's hidden desire for rejection when they won't admit it, leaving you to play the role of the bully?
That's hot. Well, they can't admit it. That's part of it, right? It wouldn't be rejection. And so you do, in this culture, you have to play with, I'm moving to Zimbabwe or something, but yeah, you really have to play with consent around this stuff. And so, the first thing I would do in an overall way is make an agreement that we're going to play with each other and we're going to play with each other's stuff in order to bring it out and reveal it, and that's the best way to have any kind of intimacy. And then that they like rejection. What I tend to suggest is, because here's what I hear you saying. They won't bring it above the surface of consciousness so that it's sort of fun and it's operating kind of unconsciously and it feels a little passive aggressive. That's kind of usually people who like rejection tend to feel a little passive aggressive. They're trying to pull from me. I would gladly reject you deliberately and consciously. Why would you try to pull it from me and and trick me into rejecting you? We could have so much more fun. Bad boy, just think about it. So that's where I would start. I tend to increase the volume on things like that. Like, I just had this sense that maybe we're done. And what I tend to do is at the peak of sensations, I leave before they can. So because most people love rejection because they have low having levels. So right when it's just like screaming good, then I just say, okay, time to move on, time for lunch or whatever it is. And they're so mad, but they're so satisfied. They're so mad, they're so satisfied. So then I read right at the point, right when they're starting to grasp, then I just change the channel. And then in terms of liking rejection, like just a second, I know you take 1 second here. Oh yeah, then you have to get down to what are their programs. People love, there are certain like go-to default programs that people refuse to take out of their motherboard. I'm inferior. People love that one. Oh my God. Really, that one is, I will not take responsibility for other people. Then you have to look at what the translation is. But I am inferior. I don't deserve this. People love, I'm an outsider. I don't belong. I don't deserve. They just, oh God, they will go for those for days. So then when something's really good, I'll figure out which one of their programs it is. And I'll just say like, maybe you don't deserve this. And then I just take it away like that. I just have fun. You have to learn to get off on, have fun with the process though, and not a goal. Or, you can just speak to someone if there is this, superiority. Their desire for rejection is going to have one of those programs that I just mentioned, and they're going to use it as a way. Really, what it is their ego working overtime trying to prevent any arousal, and so you are going to have to weave your way into that process so that you can, as I said, inject arousal. So sometimes if somebody has an inferior one, I'll say, maybe someday I'll give you that. Like, you just play with it, whatever it is, you use it and you just don't identify with it. How's that? Good?
All right. We can take a few reflections here.
Yes, let's take some
Go
reflection.
ahead and raise your hand.
It feels like a reflective day. My tea is so stuck to my thing.
Oh my God.
Okay.
We have Joanna in the room. I think Rachel has a mic. She has a mic.
I was sweating through the lecture.
You were?
Yes.
Your upper lip.
All of it. And I'm the person, I have done many of the things you talk about, including,
You have?
yes.
Like what?
Like saying like the arousal gets high and then I'm like, I have to go jog or I have to shower or I love that I have to work.
You do?
I've probably done the report one like at least 1 million times.
Really?
Yes.
What
Except
is
I
your-
recently started having Kevin do the reports.
Oh, so what happens to the person you're playing with when you do that?
They feel left.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So you're like a mean dominatrix.
I never thought about it that way, but yes.
You're like, crawl for this. And if you don't crawl well enough, I'm going to go write a report.
And it's like, I've been sitting here the whole time being like, oh, how do I eroticize even that part of myself? Because
that's what I just did, by the way.
yeah, you just
So
did it.
You all feel that she was kind of like getting down on herself about it. So then I switched it. That's what you do. You flip it. And so then all of a sudden I make her that behavior of just a habit. And the habit wants to continue to be a habit. So now it wants to go into shame. That's another habit. So then what you do is you just flip that habit and then you somehow make it sexy. Oh, okay. She's a dom. And then you should have seen her face when we gave her that title. All of a sudden she was like, oh, I'm going to write reports all day and wait for me.
And so I think, thank you. Yes, you gave the math exactly right of what was happening.
I see.
And I loved the lecture. It brought the arousal that I stopped earlier back into my body. And
oh, you were feeling arousal?
I was feeling arousal many times, but yes, I was feeling arousal earlier. And then I was like, I have to go to a work meeting.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was real for you.
This was real. You were describing something like me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I'm the
good
real
to know.
living example. So I'll post on Instagram now.
I'm glad that we have application. This isn't just theory. There's somebody is getting real results.
Exactly. I can write the testimonial that what you're saying is true.
Perhaps tomorrow she'll come on and tell us about her arousal, and then we don't need to know about when she left it, just the arousal. Just joking. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll go to Matthias online.
Hello, Nicole.
Wow.
Hey. Thank you so much for this talk. It's been awesome and so rich.
Aw.
So I've got 2 reflections.
Okay, I'm here.
All
I'm here
right.
for it.
So for those, I guess also maybe specifically for me who like feel this heavy weight of responsibility, of, all the work that I'm here to do is just be free, help people, eat pizza, have sex. Then the second reflection is in the context of a finite game and infinite game.
Right.
Eroticizing infinitizes jealousy, anxiety, and any kind of other dense emotion.
That's right. Beautifully said too. You have a way of like, you're good at that, the capturing it. I appreciate that much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to Hungye.
Oh, hello, my lady.
Oof. The whole time I was like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. No,
Yes.
I'm so scared.
It's true.
Nicole.
I love you.
You are all the time, but I'm, and then all this thing, no, can't, blah, blah, who am I? And then total panic. What if she is delusional? What if Nicole is totally out of her mind,
Yeah, many have asked that question.
And the panic is like, because who am I giving myself over?
Not me. You may be giving yourself over to the firm that I work for, but definitely, I'm just the what am I? The doorman.
I understand. It was the same panic I experienced when I went on the psilocybin journey, and suddenly everything disappeared. Even the earth disappeared, and I was because there was no more reference point and no
right.
What is right and what is wrong, what is up and what is down. I have that panic with you actually a lot.
Right. Well, yeah. That is when I talk about breaking through the membrane into flight, that's exactly all of that stuff is what's there. But I like flying with you. Even if we're flying to the insane asylum together.
Anyway.
We'll go to Marla.
Hi.
Marlita.
I just loved the part where you just did this when you do this like thing all the time, but you did this one where it was like good. You'll find your way back when it's time. And I just feel like I have like, I don't know, 5 or maybe 12 people like that in my life where like I just want to go and like scoop them up in different places, and I'm like finally here and just staying. And yeah, I feel like because of you and because of your example of just like sitting, I've learned to do that.
Good woman. I am so happy to see you here. So happy.
Next, we'll go to Rachel Kane.
Rachel.
Oh my God, that was amazing. I don't think I have anything more to add other than arousal. So that was wonderful.
What's that? You're out there in the boondocks somewhere?
I thought I was in the center of your heart.
Do they have arousal there?
This is where we make it.
Oh, good girl. She's making, see, now if you see what I did with her, may I use you as a quick example? So Rachel and I have tremendous history. I mean, deep bonding, a lot of trust in both directions. By the way, that's often the misunderstanding. The person in this role is the more vulnerable because you have to answer to the person you are making the space for their arousal, and many things could go wrong. And so we have tremendous trust. So my dear friend, who is very proficient in flight, extraordinary, and her flight is beautiful. You can kind of tell, you can imagine her in the sky and her beauty when she's in flight. It's exquisite. Well, she just decided she didn't feel like flying for a little while. But I'm her flight sister. And so I do everything I can to torture her as much as possible, not being in flight, so that she decides, oh, okay, I may as well. I may as well come back and grace the planet with my flight. And that's what I mean by you torture them when they're out, so that they can remember. You both send the reminder of, hey, I know how beautiful you are. I know who you are. I understand sometimes it gets hard. We're all fall into bikinis at some point. And so she knows that I know how beautiful she is. And she knows that I'm not going to make it easy to stay out there very long. Like that. That's how you do it. But none of it's personal. Like if she stayed out there forever, I wouldn't get mad at her. That would just be, that's what her karma is at this point in time. And I would just keep doing what I do to love her the best I know how to love her where she's at. I don't love her more when she's in flight. I'm just happier for her because she's happier in flight. Good. Thank you.
We have Leah.
Hi.
Leah, coming through. Look at that. Look at her. Bring it.
Well, thank you. There was this moment toward the end of the talk where you talked about weaving, and it reminded me of the motion of a skier, like moving through the slopes. And I was like, damn, like this stuff is an extreme sport. Like it's an extreme sport, and it's I felt very proud of myself and of just everyone on the call, and very grateful for you that we're all like deciding to turn towards what most people is just so dense and too dense for them to want to face.
Okay.
And how much incredible richness there is, and that we're like in this lifetime, I found myself here where I got to dissect all the density and like find the richness, and I'm grateful. And I'm like excited for the archetypes in me to like get to experience them all more and more. And like I'm really like all the experiences that I'm having, and like just dating more of myself through every experience I have with every woman or man, and just getting to date myself more in all these different bodies, and it's really wonderful.
You are such a beautiful, beautiful woman. Incredible. And it wasn't that long ago that you were going through an initiation. You didn't know if you could make it. And then you chose to have incredible courage. And then the result is that you went from girlhood to womanhood right before our eyes, just watching it. And the command you have of your experience and your ability to communicate it is profound.
Love you. Thank you.
And then we'll end with Cara in the room.
Oh, my favorite part was when you exclaimed, "What a gift." I just feel like we're all so lucky to feel the gifts that we have every day, especially being in this environment where people check in on you and love you no matter what. And I just want to end on that note, like, what a gift that we're here.
So same way. Thank you. Well, today is Friday. That means tomorrow is Saturday. Am I doing tomorrow? Do I have anything? I don't know. We don't know. I think I'll do tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I'll do tomorrow, but I may not. How's that? So what I'll do is I'll let you know on my Instagram. I'll put up a flyer. It'll either be tomorrow or Sunday. I'll do one of those days. Good. Thank you so much.